Hey, folks, welcome to another episode of Cutter One. I am your host, Jay, just Jay, your resident culture warrior and your resident troublemaker. I hope you are all doing well as we start this new work week. If it's the start of the new work week for you, let's get started and get through it. The weekend can't get here fast enough. Anyway, so dropped a couple of videos yesterday. You guys probably saw and checked out. On one of them, I got a question. Somebody asking a question. So let's take a look. The question comes to us from, okay, Unheilbargut 6349. Yes, ich spreche kaum Deutsch. I speak a very little German. Just to sort of put it in context, I was dating a woman whose family was from Bochum in Nordwestphalia. That's the northwestern section of Germany. Obviously met her here in the States, and I just learned a little bit of German because I wanted to know what her family, what trash they were talking about me around the dinner table. So I learned a little German. So anyway, so Unheilbargut asked a question. And they said, "Hi Jay, not related to your video, but maybe you or somebody in the community can answer me one lore question that bothers my mind for quite some time now. So I hope it's okay to ask here since I'm not on Twitter anymore." Yes, I am on Twitter. So if you ever are on Twitter, you can follow me. It's literally Cutter1, or I have it. You'll probably see it right here. No, right here. You can look me up there. But yes, absolutely, you can ask a question. That there's the community tab where you guys can ask questions. Feel free to post questions there, or in the actual comment section of the video, or you can on the about section for the page. You can also get my direct email. So if you're not comfortable putting a question out for the community and you wanted to hit me up directly, you can send your question to me there. It's cutter1@gmail.com. So, but yes, absolutely. It is definitely more than okay to ask the question. I'm actually glad you did. Can you tell me where little baby elves come from? Please bear with me. I mean their souls. Okay, because I was about to start with well, you see, when a man elf and a woman elf. No, but yes, I see where you're going with this. I mean their souls. Elves are immortal and they get sent back to Valinor where they die, when they die. But where are the new little ones coming from? And did Tolkien ever mention how many elf souls there are? I mean, after several millennia of elves living, dying, being reborn, and new babies get out into the world, Valinor, Middle Earth, and the whole of Arda should be totally crowded with elves, wouldn't it? You would think. Maybe this is an interesting question. I don't know if Tolkien ever thought of that, but he thought about every minute detail, so he might just have an answer to that I sadly never came across. Excellent damn question. Excellent. And it's something I hadn't actually ever given much thought to. But yes, and I may have an answer for you. So, okay. Well, we know the general concept with elves that Tolkien went with, which is you have your Fea and you have your Hror. All right. Fea being the soul spirit, Hror being like your physical form, your physical body, right? So, my understanding. Okay, first of all, to answer the first part of the question, I don't think Tolkien ever mentions. I'm looking at your question here, just trying to go over it. Okay, he doesn't mention how many elf souls there are. Like, I think when he's talking about the actual number, he references the number of elves throughout parts of the Silmarillion. Like initially, how many awoke in Quivianen. I think there was 26 in total. That I could be off on that number, but he mentions how many pairs there were, and when they went around and sort of gathered up the other elves. And then they mention how many make the trip across to, how many Noldor come across and stuff like that. He mentions numbers, but he doesn't specifically say how many souls in total there are for the elves. So to that question, no, he doesn't give a specific, at least not that I'm aware of. Okay, and when I saw your question, I hit some of my books to see if if there were any answers to that. So on that regard, to my knowledge, it's not mentioned like if there's a grand total number of elven souls or Fea out there. I would think not, because of the answer to the second question. So where do they come from? Well, Tolkien does lay that out for us. And I confirmed, I had thought I had read something about it, but I confirmed it in this book here. I'll hold it up for you guys. This is The Nature of Middle Earth by Carl Hostetter. It's an official, Tolkien publication. He uses Tolkien's notes and stuff like that in there. So it's legit Tolkien stuff. And so when it comes to elves and bebes, the way it works is elves, they hook up like, well, let me rephrase that. They don't hook up. Okay, the elves do when they bond, when a man and a male elf and a female elf get together, it's like for the long term. They don't do like hookups and one night stands. So that's they're like they pair bond for life. Okay, so there's that. In terms of the actual physical act of creating a baby, it's pretty much similar to what humans do. The way we do it. Okay, I don't know why I sounded like Garth from Wayne's World for a second, but yes, they pretty much do it the same way we do it. Here's the thing, though. The gestation time for an elf is a hell of a lot longer. A hell of a lot longer. Ooh. Okay, I'll give it to elven women in Middle Earth. You guys, much respect to the elvish ladies out there, because apparently gestation is 3/4 of the of the 12 year lower, which would roughly come out to in human years, somewhere between 8 and 9 on average. So, ladies who may be viewing this, your pregnancies are 9 months. Well, Galadriel's pregnancy with Celebrian would have been anywhere between 8 and 9 human years. Okay, that's the gestation period. Where their souls come from. Okay, nothing is specifically stated. It is sort of alluded to, and they do make reference to it again in the book. They do make reference to it in this book. Their soul, it's sort of, okay, in the physical sense, there's the man and the woman get together, and there's gestation in the physical sense, the same way as humans. But in terms of their soul, it's sort of, their soul is sort of created and nourished primarily from the mother's Fea, feeds the new child's Fea, as well as the father's. Okay, and that's where that's something very Tolkien, is part of that pair bonding, when the man and woman, male and female elf are when they've conceived the child, while the child is still within the womb, its soul is fed, so to speak, by the mothers as well as the fathers. And apparently it can be very draining. When elves, they say on average, elves have anywhere from 3 to 4 children, sometimes more. There are always outliers that have more children, sometimes less. Like Galadriel just, she had Celebrian, right? So, but if they have more, the time in between children is exponential. So in other words, the elven woman would have the one child, and then usually she would wait the 12 lore, 12 12-year Loar, Loar, um, before she would have the next child. But then after that child, she would wait 24 Loar or 24 lower years, okay, and then 36 and so on and so forth. So it would exponentially increase because it takes more of a toll on them. So to answer your questions, no, Tolkien, as far as I could find, doesn't specifically give a overall number. There's X amount of elvish Fea slash souls in total. He doesn't ever mention that, but in terms of how are the babies made, the physical portion is the same as men and women would. Usually, the elves have a set time. They call it the time of children. It's usually a set time. It is usually right after their time of marriage, which would be roughly, I believe, the time of they reach maturity. An elvish female reaches maturity at 20 elvish years. Okay. I believe the time of marriage is roughly in that 22 to 24 time range. And then the time of children is usually for an elvish female about the age of 26. Now, 26 elvish years, if you do the math at 144 to 1, which is the overall estimate we get for the elvish years, at 144 to 1 times 26, and yes, I made a little note for myself that I'm staring at, is roughly 3,744. So your average elvish woman is having her first child roughly in that time period. The time, what men would say they were about 3,744 years old. The spirit of that child is derived from the Fea of the mother and the father, are both throughout the gestation period, the anywhere from 8 to 9 years. The spirit of the child is derived from both the Fea of the mother and the father. At least that's what we have based on the notes that were written, and what I was able to find in the book. I keep holding up the book, but in the book. So there you go. That's where elven babies come from. Elven babies come from elven adults. And there's no set number on the amount of elvish souls. And, you elves are reluctant. It's not an easy thing for them. That's sort of what you get if you read about it. The way Tolkien presents it is it's not easy. There's a reason, not to mention there over time, because the elves do age, just they do it at such a slower rate compared to mortal men. Their libido over time goes away. Once they're done out of the time of children, other things they it's not like they're not like humans that are like, hey, my libido was going crazy in my 20s, but you know what? I'm still down to party and hook up in my 30s or whatever. Like their libido gets pushed to the side after a certain time, and they focus on other things. Okay. Plus, it's just not easy. I mean, ladies, chime in the comment section. An 8.5-year pregnancy. Ooh, I'm a guy, and even I'm like, yeah, no, I wouldn't put you through that. I'm sorry, not if I cared about you. But yes, so elven baby souls are derived from both of the parents. They are derived from the Fea of both the mother and the father throughout gestation. The gestation is 8.5 years. It is not easy on the elves, particularly the elvish women. Maybe in Rings of Power, if Galadriel had just given birth to Celebrian, maybe that's why she's running around, because she's so pissed off. Because after an 8.5-year pregnancy, I'm sure most of us would be running around wanting to kill everybody. But yeah, so I hope that answers your question. Thank you for the question. It was a damn good question. And when I saw it, I was just like, ooh, I'm going to have to hit the books on this one, because this is a question that I had never given much thought to. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. And like I said, questions are always welcome. And you can find me on Twitter, like all the socials. I've got them up there. You see them on the screen. All my socials are there. You can hit me up there, or you can go to the community tab, or you can ask the question in the comment section of the video, or you can just email me directly, and I will try to help out however I can. Because that's what we're all about here, right? Like having a community of Tolkien fans that are there and not screaming at each other and calling each other names and going, "Girl, you need to like the show," and blah, blah. We all share this something in common, and that's an overall love for Tolkien and his work, and the world that he created. So anyway, I hope that helps. That is the birds and the bees episode of of Tolkien lore. So I hope that answered your question, and I will talk to you guys on the next one. Until then, if you like the video, like the video. If you want to share the video, please feel free to do so. If you have not subscribed, I would hope you would consider giving the channel a subscription. And if you have and are returning, I appreciate you, and you are freaking awesome. And I will see you all in the next one. Until then, be good, be safe, be awesome. I'll talk to you later. Bye.